The galactic peace chamber shimmered with light from 1,000 suspended orbs, each pulsing to the rhythm of alien respiration. Species from across 4 spiral arms leaned forward in their floating chairs, some coiling, some twitching, some folding insectal limbs across plated chests. The ceiling arched into a vault of living crystal that sang faintly when the air vibrated too sharply. Every being present recognized it as the sound of galactic law being discussed, bent or broken. Today it hummed like a funeral dirge waiting for a name to carve upon a headstone. At the center of it all, at the long obsidian table where no human had ever been allowed to sit until now, perched an old woman. Her shoulders hunched slightly, as though bearing the weight of centuries, though her age by human measure was no more than 70. A cardigan of soft gray wool wrapped around her frame, buttons mismatched, one loose, thread dangling. She had placed before her a chipped white mug, steam curling from its brim, carrying the smell of strong tea into the chamber. The scent, simple and earthy, cut through the sterilized atmosphere like a rude interruption at a royal banquet. Her name, whispered in corridors, muttered with half fear and half laughter, was Baba Yaga. Not a title given, but one chosen. To her fellow humans, she was simply General Evelyn Karpova, retired grandmother, reader of crime novels, baker of rye bread. To the galaxy, she had become something else, a rumor that never went away. She smiled warmly at the towering insectoid beside her, as if greeting a neighbor at Sunday market. The insectoid clicked mandibles nervously. The presiding voice, heavy with pride, echoed through the chamber. It belonged to Chancellor Cheharam of the Valoth, a reptilian creature whose scales gleamed like burnished copper beneath the orbs. We welcome humanity at last to the circle of peace. You have been difficult, unruly, disobedient to order, but now you will sign. This treaty ensures your compliance. No more wars of expansion. No more reckless experimentation. You will remain contained, protected. The last word dripped with condescension. Baba Yaga adjusted her glasses on the bridge of her nose and sipped her tea. The silence that followed was calculated. She set the mug down carefully, letting porcelain click against stone. Then she folded her hands, the picture of gentility. "I thank you for the invitation," she said, her voice carrying with it the warmth of a grandmother reading bedtime stories. "And for your hospitality. These lights are beautiful, very festive." Several alien translators shifted uncomfortably, unsure if she meant genuine praise or mockery. The Chancellor's crest stiffened. "Then you agree? Humanity signs peace. Humanity is safe." Her smile deepened, a grandmotherly indulgence, and yet behind it lurked something sharper, like a carving knife hidden beneath a napkin. "Ah, you want my signature, do you? On this treaty of yours?" She lifted the data slate they had placed before her and held it at arm's length, as if it were a grocery receipt with suspicious charges. So many clauses. So many restrictions. "Tell me, Chancellor, do you ever read the fine print on things? I once bought a blender that promised to reduce anything to dust." Very exciting. But then in the small letters it clarified. Anything soft, pre-chopped, and approved by the manufacturer. Can you imagine my disappointment? Ripples of confusion swept the chamber. A feathered diplomat rustled wings in irritation. Cheharam hissed softly. "This is no household purchase, human. This is survival. Do not cheapen it with your strange metaphors." "Oh, but I find metaphors so useful," she replied, tilting her head. "They help me explain dangerous things to people who aren't listening closely." For a moment, silence. Then she leaned forward, eyes twinkling. "I'm afraid Earth cannot sign your treaty. At least, not yet." The words fell like stones into a still pond, sending shockwaves outward. Gasps, chitters, screeches. A gelatinous envoy rippled purple with disbelief. Cheharam rose from his seat, scales bristling. "Refusal? You dare? Humanity is surrounded. Your fleets are outnumbered. Your worlds are under watch. Do you not understand what is at stake?" Baba Yaga dabbed her lips with a folded napkin she had smuggled in from her cardigan pocket. "I do understand. But you see, my dear Chancellor, Earth doesn't sign things until we've tested them. It's a cultural quirk. We prefer to shake the box a little, see if it rattles, before agreeing it's safe. A squat amphibian cough bubbles. This is madness. Your species risks annihilation. She chuckled, a soft, grandmotherly sound that made the hair on the back of every delegate's neck rise. Oh, sweet child. Risk is the only thing that keeps us awake. The Chancellor slammed a clawed hand on the table, the crystal ceiling keening in protest. Do not trifle with us. Humanity is tolerated here only because we wish it. Defy us, and we will burn your worlds to ash. She stared at him over the rim of her glasses, utterly unshaken. That's a very serious promise, Chancellor. But forgive me, your voice reminds me of an alligator I once knew in Florida. He used to bellow before lunch. It never stopped people from wrestling him for sport. Several delegates blinked, uncertain if she was joking. Cheharam hissed, words choking in his throat. He realized too late that the chamber was now staring not at him, but at her. Even those who despised humanity leaned closer, drawn by the terrifying casualness of her defiance. She continued, softer now, almost tender. You see, humanity has an unfortunate habit. When told to kneel, we tend to stand taller. Not out of pride, mind you, but curiosity. We want to see who thinks they can bend us. The chamber shifted from outrage to unease. Ancient species, who had subjugated 100 civilizations, found themselves suddenly calculating the risk of underestimating one frail-looking grandmother. A crystalline envoy cleared its throat in tones of breaking glass. Madam, perhaps reconsider. For your people's sake. The galaxy remembers wars, remembers blood. You do not wish to repeat history. Baba Yaga sighed, nodding slowly, as if moved. History is such a burden, isn't it? So many mistakes. But do you know the blessing of humanity, Ambassador? We forget nothing. Not the burn of fire. Not the taste of salt. Not the sting of betrayal. We remember, and we plan. The word plan echoed, sharp as a bell. Some delegates shivered. Cheharam attempted recovery. You think planning will save you? You are ants before titans. What defense could Earth possibly mount? She smiled, her teeth white against her weathered face. Oh, Chancellor, never underestimate ants. They swarm. They bite. They outlive dinosaurs. Laughter rippled from a few alien throats before they realized it wasn't a joke. Then she leaned back, letting the silence stretch. Her hands cradled the mug once more, fingers steady, no tremor in them. So, my answer is polite, my friends. Earth declines, for now. But thank you kindly for asking. It shows manners, and I do appreciate manners. The chamber erupted again, shouts and squeals, translators squeaking as they strained to keep pace. Threats filled the air like smoke. But through it all, Baba Yaga remained serene, sipping her tea as though she were at home on a porch swing, watching sparrows peck at crumbs. One by one, the shouting faltered. Something in her composure unnerved them more than any open defiance could. It was the way she refused to flinch, the way she smiled, patient and unyielding, the way her eyes, soft, wrinkled, grandmotherly, watched each delegate as if weighing which one she might bury first. Finally, Cheharam spat, "Then you have chosen war." She tilted her head, as if considering. "No, Chancellor. I've chosen curiosity. We shall see how sturdy your peace really is." Somewhere in the chamber's vast ceiling, a soft chime sounded, the automated signal of a transmission leaving the embassy ship. Most ignored it, assuming it to be bureaucratic filing. Only one or two delegates stiffened, eyes narrowing. Baba Yaga tapped her mug gently, porcelain against stone, like a metronome marking time. "And while we wait," she murmured, almost to herself, "I expect they'll come." The words slipped into the chamber's air, light as a sigh, but they lingered, curling into the minds of every listener. None could tell if she meant allies, armies, or something far worse. All they knew was that she said it with certainty, as though the universe itself had already agreed. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt the faintest tremor of fear. The banquet hall of the Galactic Peace Chamber had been reconfigured overnight. Gone was the solemn obsidian table. replaced now with a sprawling arrangement of floating platforms carrying dishes, bowls, and trays that shimmered under suspended light. Food, or the alien approximations of it, glowed, hissed, and writhed upon silver plates. Aromas clashed in the air like warring armies. Acrid smoke from roasted chitin, sweet musk from fermented spores, the iron tang of something still bleeding. It was a festival of intimidation, disguised as diplomacy. The council had learned, after Baba Yaga's refusal, that threats alone would not sway humanity. So they would host her, feed her, dazzle her with excess and menace, and then, in subtle ways, remind her of what was at stake. She arrived late, cardigan still buttoned askew, hair pinned with an ordinary clasp that looked like it belonged in a kitchen drawer rather than among galactic royalty. In one hand, her same chipped mug of tea, in the other, a paper napkin folded neatly into squares. She sat on the chair provided, which was more throne than seat, and surveyed the feast like a tired grandmother eyeing a cluttered breakfast table. Cheharam, his copper scales polished, raised his claw. Tonight, humanity learns humility. This banquet is not for indulgence. It is for education. Platters floated toward her, each carried by drones. One settled before her, a roasted creature with too many legs, its eyes still glowing faintly, antennae twitching as though clinging to life. Another dish arrived, filled with iridescent worms still writhing in black sauce. A third hissed as vapor rose, releasing a scent not unlike burning rubber. Baba Yaga sipped her tea and regarded them with a look of polite curiosity. "You've gone to so much trouble," she said gently. "But forgive me. Back home, we usually start with bread. Rye, perhaps. Sometimes with a pickle." She reached into her cardigan pocket and withdrew a small jar. She unscrewed the lid, plucked out a pale pickle, and crunched into it with absolute serenity. The crack echoed louder than the hiss of the steaming dish. A ripple of discomfort coursed through the chamber. The gelatinous envoy quivered violently, as if suppressing nausea. Cheharam forced a grin, exposing serrated teeth. "You mock us with primitive food?" "Not at all," she said through her second bite. "I find familiar things steady the nerves. Strange meals unsettle the stomach. One must be careful, especially at my age." The insectoid delegate to her left clicked angrily. "You insult tradition. Each dish is prepared from our conquered enemies, a reminder of the price of defiance." Baba Yaga licked her fingers delicately, wiped them on her napkin, and nodded with grandmotherly sympathy. "I understand. On Earth, we have similar customs. We call it barbecue. Only, we invite the neighbors and play music while the ribs are smoking. Nothing like charred meat to bring people together." The insectoid recoiled, antennae stiff. Several delegates muttered. Cheharam's grin faltered. Another dish floated toward her, a crystalline platter bearing what looked like a lump of molten metal, faintly glowing. The crystalline envoy inclined its head. "From our forges, the heart of a world once ours by conquest. To eat is to claim dominion." Baba Yaga tapped the lump with her fingernail. It pinged like glass. "How lovely. Reminds me of boiled potatoes, though those are a little softer. And less dental work." She smiled, then returned calmly to her tea. The banquet turned from insult to contest. Each species presented something deadlier, stranger, fouler. Baba Yaga responded with gentle anecdotes. The swampy smell of pickled herring, the fun of wrestling alligators in Florida, the quaint challenge of habanero peppers. Every comparison made the alien delicacies seem ridiculous. Every laugh she gave sounded like patience masking iron. Yet beneath the comedy, tension grew sharper. Cheharam leaned close. "Do you see, human? All who defied us ended here, upon our tables. You refuse our treaty, and your kind will join them. Roasted, pickled, forgotten." Baba Yaga's eyes twinkled. "How imaginative. But Chancellor, have you never noticed? When you eat something dangerous, sometimes it eats you back. Chili peppers burn the tongue. Pufferfish poison the fool who prepares it wrong. You cannot consume without risk." His scales bristled. "Are you threatening me?" "Not at all," she said sweetly. I'm warning you. There is a difference. The hall darkened as holographic displays flickered to life above the table. They showed images of Earth's surface, cities lit by neon, vast oceans churning, rockets piercing atmosphere. Narration rolled from the speakers, a harsh alien tone. Humanity is fragile, overcrowded, dependent on primitive fuel and fragile technologies. They have no capacity for sustained war. Delegates murmured in agreement. Baba Yaga, unfazed, tapped her glasses. Fragile, yes. Like glass. Funny thing about glass, it cuts deeper than steel when broken. The insectoid slammed a claw on the table. Your metaphors cannot save you. Accept disarmament or perish. Her smile remained steady, but her voice cooled like a knife left too long in the icebox. I once told a child not to touch the stove. She didn't listen. Burned her hand terribly. After that, she learned. Some lessons are best experienced. Tell me, will you need to burn yourselves before you believe us? The chamber stilled. Even Shaharam, accustomed to domination, found no immediate retort. Then a soft chime sounded. Not from the banquet, but from somewhere higher. A transmission intercept. Several envoys leaned forward as alien aides whispered frantically. They had caught fragments of Earth's communications. Bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. Fire up the grill, we'll need more burgers. Mom says bring the potato salad. The chamber buzzed with confusion. Shaharam sneered. See? Pathetic. They broadcast nonsense while facing annihilation. Baba Yaga folded her napkin neatly, precisely. Her hands never trembled. Oh, Chancellor, that nonsense is how we sharpen our knives. A game, a meal, a family gathering. Those are when we learn patience, strategy, timing. It may sound harmless to you, but that is because you have never watched a child learn to play chess while plotting how to win 3 moves ahead. Her words landed like quiet detonations. Delegates shifted uneasily. For the first time, the idea flickered in their minds. Perhaps the humans were not distracted by trivialities. Perhaps the trivialities were disguises. Shaharam growled low. Your stalling will not save you. This is your final chance. Sign the treaty, disarm, or be destroyed. Baba Yaga lifted her mug once more. Steam rose like a veil, curling between her face and the Chancellor's teeth. Destroyed? That is a heavy word. But forgive me, Chancellor. Your banquet has left me unsatisfied. Too much spice, not enough substance. Perhaps I'll wait for the main course. The silence that followed was suffocating. Even the drone servitors froze, uncertain whether to deliver the next platter. The tension pressed down like a storm before lightning. At last, the crystalline envoy asked in a voice like shattering glass, "And what precisely would you consider the main course?" Baba Yaga's smile softened, grandmotherly once more, and yet every syllable carried the weight of a guillotine. When Earth arrives. The lights flickered. Somewhere in orbit, ships moved. Unnoticed until now, their signatures grew clearer on scanners. The aides scrambled, reports flooding into alien hands. Human carriers, destroyers, stealth cruisers, all shifting position with quiet precision, as if the refusal had been timed to the second. Baba Yaga placed her empty mug on the table. Porcelain met stone, the sound sharp and final. Thank you for your hospitality. It has been enlightening, but I never eat dessert before dinner. The chamber erupted in chaos. Shouts, commands, fear, and over it all, her quiet, calm voice lingered like smoke. Let's see if you've saved room. The banquet had dissolved into chaos before the last platter was cleared. Voices rose in shrieks, growls, clicks, and electronic tones, colliding in the vaulted chamber until the crystalline ceiling rang like struck glass. Delegates flailed their limbs or appendages, some demanding immediate sanctions, others insisting on withdrawal, a few muttering that the humans had only baited them into theater. Amid the pandemonium, Baba Yaga remained seated, cardigan folded neatly around her shoulders, mug empty, but cupped in her hands, as if holding a coal of quiet fire. Shaharam slammed a claw on the obsidian floor, sending fractures racing outward in glowing cracks. Order, he roared, scales rippling with fury. The chamber stilled, the air thick with dread. He turned his burning gaze toward her. "You dare to mock this council? You dare to summon war at our table?" She lifted her eyes from the empty mug. "War? I summon nothing. But you've mistaken my politeness for surrender, Chancellor. And that mistake," she said softly, "is how wars begin." A new sound broke through, the piercing shrill of emergency alarms. Holographic projections lit the chamber with spiraling reports. Alien aides scrambled, voices tripping over one another in terror. The blockade fleet stationed around Earth's embassy ship had just shifted formation, without orders. Dozens of cruisers reported systems interference. Others were broadcasting open channels filled with noise. "Strike 3, you're out. Please deposit another quarter to continue the game." And next up on the playlist, Sinatra sings. The delegates stared in disbelief as their tactical displays filled with fragments of human transmissions, baseball commentary, arcade sound effects, crooners from the 20th century. Harmless, absurd, trivial. Yet the timing was perfect. Coordinated. Mocking. Choharam bared his teeth. Electronic sabotage. Primitive tricks. Shut them down. But shutting them down was impossible. Every attempt to isolate the signals only spread the disruption further, like ink bleeding through cloth. Human code slipped into alien systems, disguised as nursery rhymes, dance tunes, jingles. A warship's targeting computer froze while playing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Another's engines powered down to the hiss of a soda commercial. Panic rippled through command structures. Baba Yaga set down her mug with deliberate care. "I told you we test things. Did you think we came to this meeting empty-handed?" The crystalline envoy trembled, its whole body chiming with fear. You have infiltrated our fleet." She smiled, small and sad, like a teacher disappointed in her brightest student. "Not infiltrated. Anticipated. You see, Chancellor, humans don't fight fair. We fight to win." In orbit, the trap unfolded. Cloaked destroyers shimmered into sight. Railgun batteries already charged. They had drifted for weeks in the blind spots of alien sensors, hidden in the clutter of civilian traffic, disguised as space debris. At the signal, a faint chime timed to her words, they came alive. The first volley ripped through the blockade, tearing holes in the lattice of ships like scissors through ribbon. Explosions flared on the holographic displays, casting firelight across the chamber walls. Delegates recoiled, voices cracking in terror. Choharam roared, demanding counterfire. But counterfire never came. The alien gunners pressed controls that no longer obeyed them. Their cannons spat nursery rhymes. Their torpedoes detonated harmlessly at launch. The humans had written jokes into the very death of machines. Baba Yaga leaned forward, her voice low, deliberate, measured. "You spoke of ants at your table. Do you know what happens when ants swarm? They overwhelm. They consume. They carry away more than their size should allow. Humanity is ants with fire." The insectoid delegate's mandibles clicked wildly. This is treachery. You invited us to peace talks, and instead you orchestrate slaughter." "On the contrary," she said, "I declined peace politely. You refused to listen. This is the consequence of your appetite. You wanted us roasted, pickled, forgotten. Instead, you are learning what it feels like to be the meal." More reports filled the air. Alien ships attempting retreat found their hyperspace coordinates corrupted. Their engines plotted courses to empty voids, spiraling suns, dead planets. Some simply looped endlessly, their navigation displays replaced by grainy recordings of human sitcoms. Laughter tracks echoed through the comms of warriors who had never known laughter as anything but mockery. A feathered envoy shrieked in despair. "You cannot hold this power forever. The council will unite. You will be crushed." Baba Yaga's eyes glimmered with something that was not amusement, but something darker, older. "Crushed? Perhaps. But you've underestimated the stubbornness of a cornered species. We are the children of predators and plagues. We survived ice and fire, famine and flood. We learned to smile while sharpening knives beneath the table. Tell me, when your fleets crumble, Who will you trust to hold the knife next? Her words silenced the chamber. For the first time, no one shouted back. They only watched the displays as their ships died, one by one, to weapons they never saw fired. Cheharam lunged toward her, scales flaring, claws raised. Guards surged, weapons drawn, but she raised one wrinkled hand, palm outward, calm as a saint in a storm. Careful, Chancellor. This cardigan has pockets deeper than you imagine. He froze, uncertain if it was a joke or threat. The chamber believed the latter. Then the projections shifted again. Alien fleets across distant sectors reported disturbances. Not near Earth, light years away. Orbital stations shutting down. Supply depots exploding from within. Merchant convoys frozen in transit. All traced to signals no one could trace back, save for a single mark scrawled on each corrupted channel. A child's drawing of a witch's hut on chicken legs, lines crude, inked with human humor. Delegates whispered in panic. The symbol spread faster than any fleet, a meme of menace that turned into reality. Earth's trap was not local. It was everywhere. The crystalline envoy whispered, voice cracking like ice. This is not defense. This is extermination of hierarchy. Baba Yaga's smile thinned. Now you begin to see. You came here thinking Earth would kneel. Instead, we've pulled the rug. That is the counterstroke. Cheharam roared, but beneath the roar was something else. Fear. His scales rattled like loose armor. He slammed his claw again, but the sound echoed hollow, powerless. You cannot rule through fear forever. The galaxy will resist. She leaned back, folded her napkin, and slipped it into her cardigan pocket. Of course it will resist. That's what makes the game interesting. In orbit, human marines deployed in drop pods that glowed like falling stars. They landed not on alien soil, but upon the very decks of Council warships, moving with precision, singing old marching tunes. Alien soldiers trained for centuries of disciplined war, faced opponents who joked mid-battle, who whistled Sinatra while exchanging fire, who tossed grenades as casually as passing a football on Thanksgiving. The absurdity unmoored them. Fear spread faster than gunfire. Cheharam pointed a claw at her, shaking with rage. You are monsters. Her eyes softened, almost pitying. No, Chancellor. Monsters do not pretend to be polite. Monsters bear teeth from the start. We smile first. That's what makes us human. The chamber filled with silence again. Only the distant echoes of destruction, carried by hologram, filled the void. Alien empires, once so secure, now realized the truth. Humanity had never come here defenseless. The treaty was never meant to be accepted. It was bait, a stage, a chance to draw the Council into revealing its arrogance, its vulnerabilities. Baba Yaga placed both hands on the table, steady and deliberate. You asked us to sign away our claws. Instead, we've shown you the fangs you ignored. Earth doesn't beg for peace. Earth forces it. The crystalline envoy whispered brokenly. Then what do you want? She looked around the chamber, meeting every gaze with the calm of inevitability. We want the galaxy to stop underestimating us. We want the Council to understand. Humanity does not kneel, does not yield, and does not forget. We want you to see the truth you've hidden from yourselves. And once you see it, she let the silence hold, as if daring someone to speak. None did, not even Cheharam. Her smile returned, warm and grandmotherly, incongruous against the carnage flashing across the walls. Then my friends will decide what to do with you. The chamber's lights flickered. Somewhere far above, another fleet signature appeared. Larger, stranger, not human, yet moving into formation alongside Earth's forces. The delegates stiffened, realization dawning that humans were not alone in this rebellion. Baba Yaga's eyes glinted. She whispered, almost to herself, yet every translator caught the words. The dinner bell's been rung. Let's see who else comes to the table. The chamber had become a tomb of silence. Not even the crystalline envoy dared to breathe its chiming resonance. Every delegate's eyes were fixed on the holograms, where fleets burned in the void, their formations collapsing into spirals of flame and debris. The illusion of control, the Council's centuries-old dominion, was cracking before their eyes. And through it all, Baba Yaga sat steady, her cardigan buttoned wrong, her mug empty, her hands folded as if waiting for bread to rise in an oven. Then the new fleet appeared. Enormous shapes slid into view above the planet, ships that no one had expected, hulls lined with alien glyphs. They were not human, and yet they moved in uncanny coordination with Earth's warships, weaving into their formations like old companions. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Cheharam hissed in disbelief. Impossible. Those species are vassals of the Council. They would never. They would, Baba Yaga interrupted softly. If you starve them, tax them, mock them, dismiss them. If you built your empire on their backs, they would eventually tire of carrying you. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp now, the grandmotherly warmth gone. You see, Chancellor, Earth didn't come here to fight alone. We came to light a match. The fire was waiting. The holograms showed it clearly, former Council client species abandoning their masters, rallying behind Earth's sudden strike. Smaller fleets peeled away from established patrols, answering signals only humans had known how to send. Each carried the same crude mark in its code, the witch's hut on chicken legs. A symbol of rebellion, a reminder of the human promise, polite on its face, lethal beneath. Cheharam roared, but his voice cracked, the sound no longer command but desperation. You trick them. Lies. Manipulation. Stories, she corrected. Humans tell stories. About witches, wolves, dragons. We whisper them to children so they grow teeth in their dreams. We whispered them here too, and your empire never noticed. The insectoid delegate clattered in fury, mandibles gnashing. We will crush your allies, scatter your fleets, erase your symbols. Her response was quiet, almost pitying. Symbols are harder to kill than soldiers. On the holograms, Earth's counterstroke unfolded in full. The blockade disintegrated under coordinated fire. Drop pods continued to rain like sparks, and Council supply lines lit up with sabotage. Yet it was not brute strength that terrified the delegates. It was the rhythm of it all. The humans fought with choreography, as if every move had been practiced for years. They turned war into dance, slaughter into song. Marines pushed forward with jokes on their lips. Pilots dove through fire while singing old jingles. Commanders issued orders disguised as baseball commentary. Every act of violence carried absurdity, and the absurdity made it worse. To the Council, who understood war only as solemn sacrifice, this human levity was monstrous. One by one, the delegates wilted. The gelatinous envoy slumped into its containment sphere, quivering faintly. The feathered diplomat plucked its own chest feathers in despair. Only Cheharam remained standing, chest heaving, claws flexing. He turned on Baba Yaga with finality. If you destroy us, you inherit nothing but rubble. You think you can govern the galaxy? You cannot. You are chaos in flesh. A dangerous joke. Her smile returned then, slow, deliberate, as though she had waited hours for that opening. Chaos, she said. We call it freedom. And it terrifies you. The crystalline envoy's voice cracked into brittle tones. What do you demand? The chamber froze on that question. For centuries, it had always been the Council who demanded, who imposed, who carved their will into treaties like stone tablets. Now the roles were reversed, and every being present knew it. Baba Yaga let the silence stretch until it trembled. Then she spoke. A new treaty, she said. Not yours. Ours. Cheharam snarled. Never. Her eyes gleamed. Then watch your empire collapse around you. The fleets are already choosing sides. The systems you ruled will not mourn you. They will spit on your ashes. But if you sign, she let the thought dangle like bait. The crystalline envoy leaned forward. If we sign, then humanity keeps things civilized, she said with a softness that made the word dangerous. No purges. No massacres. No extinctions. Just order. A new order, fairer, sharper, less forgiving of arrogance. You will live, but under us. The chamber erupted again, but this time not with outrage, only with despair. The inevitability hung in the air. The council, for the first time, had no leverage. Jehoram's chest heaved. His scales dulled as if years weighed him in seconds. Yet still he hissed defiance. "We will not kneel to ants." Her reply was gentle. "Then you will burn like dinosaurs." The holograms bloomed with another wave of explosions. Alien capitals flickered in flames. Civilian uprisings spread as news of the rebellion leaked. The empire was unraveling faster than any could contain it. Jehoram faltered. His claws lowered. His mouth opened, but no words came. He knew. They all knew. Baba Yaga withdrew a fountain pen from her cardigan pocket, an absurdly fragile object of black lacquer and brass. She placed it on the table, the way one might place a pistol between rivals. "Shall we begin drafting?" The crystalline envoy's voice trembled. This is coercion." Her smile softened, kind again. "No, ambassador. This is survival." Slowly, reluctantly, they moved. Holographic slates appeared. Alien limbs scrawled names, crests, symbols of submission. Each signature echoed like a tolling bell, the end of one empire and the rise of another. As the last mark was signed, the crystal ceiling above the chamber cracked with a long, keening note, as though the structure itself mourned. Baba Yaga lifted the pen, placed it back in her pocket, and straightened her cardigan. Her work looked no grander than a grandmother balancing her checkbook. Yet the galaxy had shifted. Jehoram slumped into a seat, scales dull as rust. His voice rasped low. "You've made us slaves." Her answer was calm, almost sorrowful. "No, Chancellor. You were slaves already, to your pride, your arrogance, your belief that power could never be challenged. We've only shown you the mirror." The chamber emptied in silence, delegates retreating like beaten animals. Only Baba Yaga remained, seated in her throne chair, her mug still empty, but steaming now as though filled anew. She looked into it with weary eyes. "So much work ahead," she murmured. Above, the holograms shifted once more. The human fleets did not withdraw. They spread outward, system by system, ceding presence. Earth had not simply defended itself, it had claimed oversight. The galaxy's law would now bear human fingerprints, written in ink and fire. Her aides approached quietly. One, a young officer with nerves still trembling, asked in awe, "Was this always your plan?" She looked up at him, her face lined with weariness, yet lit with iron resolve. "Plans are just stories we tell the future. What matters is being ready to change the ending." The aide swallowed. "And what ending do we want?" Her smile flickered, half tender, half terrifying. "The one where humanity stops playing prey." They fell silent together, watching the holograms. Across the stars, rebellions burned bright, fueled by the sight of giants toppling. The council's dominion was over. But in the spaces between flames, something else stirred. Fear of what came next. Fear of Earth's hand, gentle for now, but capable of closing into a fist. Baba Yaga whispered into her mug as if it were listening. "Peace on our terms." The chamber lights dimmed one by one, until only her face remained lit in the pale glow of holographic fire. And then, just as silence threatened to settle, another chime rang from the comm system. A new signal. Not human. Not council. Something else. Unfamiliar. Enormous. Her eyes sharpened. She set her mug down with care. "Ah," she murmured. "The game isn't finished yet."